Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare. Any gloves in there? Any gloves in there? Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Rama Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Bolo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's all right. What? Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Bolo Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol. Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitya Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaur Hari Bol. Nitya Gaur Premanande Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantha Raja Ki Jai. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. So tonight we are going to hear about the super excellent power of Krishna. And this is from the Krishna book and chapter 89. So it says, long, long ago, there was an assembly of great sages on the bank of the river Saraswati who performed a great sacrifice of the name Kshatriya. In such assemblies, the great sages present usually discuss Vedic subject matters and philosophical topics. And in this particular meeting, the following question was raised. The three predominating deities of this material world, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, are directing all the affairs of this cosmos. But who among them is the supreme? This was a question that was being considered to discuss. After much discussion on this question, the great sage named Bhrigu, the son of Lord Brahma, was deputed to test all three predominating deities, that means Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu. The three deities are the controllers of the three material qualities, namely the qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. The plan decided upon the sages was for Bhrigu to test which one of the predominating deities possesses the quality of goodness in full. Therefore, when Bhrigu Muni reached his father, Lord Brahma, because Bhrigu wanted to test whether Brahma had the quality of goodness, he, meaning Bhrigu, purposely did not offer his respects to his father, either by offering obeisances or by offering prayers. It is the duty of a son or a disciple to offer respects and recite suitable prayers when he approaches his father or spiritual master. But Bhrigu Muni purposely failed to offer respects just to see Lord Brahma's reaction to this negligence. Lord Brahma was very angry at his son's impudence, and he showed signs which definitely proved this to be so. He was even prepared to condemn Bhrigu by cursing him, but because Bhrigu was his son, Lord Brahma controlled his anger with his great intelligence. This means that although the quality of passion was prominent in Lord Brahma, he had the power to control it. Lord Brahma's anger and his controlling his anger are likened to fire and water. Water is produced from fire at the beginning of creation, but fire can be extinguished with water. Similarly, although Lord Brahma was very angry due to his quality of passion, he could still control his passion because Bhrigu Muni was his son. After testing Lord Brahma, Bhrigu Muni went directly to Mount Kailash, where Lord Shiva resides. Bhrigu Muni happened to be Lord Shiva's brother. Therefore, as soon as Bhrigu Muni approached, Lord Shiva was very glad and personally rose to embrace him. But when Lord Shiva approached, Bhrigu Muni refused to embrace him. "My dear brother," he said, "you are always very impure because you smear your body with ashes of dead people. You are not very clean. Please do not touch me." When Bhrigu Muni refused to embrace his brother, saying that Lord Shiva was impure, the latter, meaning Lord Shiva, became very angry with him. It is said that an offense can be committed either with the body, with the mind, or by speech. Bhrigu Muni's first offense committed toward Lord Brahma was an offense with the mind. His second offense committed toward Lord Shiva was by insulting him, criticizing him for unclean habits. And this was an offense by speech. Because the quality of ignorance is prominent in Lord Shiva, when he heard Bhrigu's insult, his eyes immediately became red with anger. With uncontrollable rage, he took up his trident and prepared to kill Bhrigu Muni. At that time, Lord Shiva's wife, Parvati, was present. Her personality, like Lord Shiva's, is a mixture of the three qualities, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And therefore, she was called Trigunamayi. In this case, she saved the situation by evoking Lord Shiva's quality of goodness. She fell down at the feet of her husband, and with her sweet words, she talked him out of killing Brigamuni. After being saved from the anger of Lord Shiva, Brigamuni went directly to the planet Sveta Dvipa, where Lord Vishnu was lying on a bed of flowers in the company of his wife, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, who was engaged in massaging his lotus feet. There, Brigamuni purposely committed the greatest sin by offending Lord Vishnu by his bodily activities. The first offense, well, what did he do? He jumped up on the chest of Lord Krishna and put his feet on his chest. So that was like the worst thing you can do. There's insulting by words and insulting by, but the worst insult is a physical insult where you actually step on, like you put your feet on the chest of Lord Shiva. After having, so with uncontrollable rage, because the quality of ignorance is prominent in Lord Shiva, when he heard Brigu's insult, his eyes immediately became red with anger. Yeah, because Brigamuni refused to touch his brother's or Lord Shiva's body, because Lord Shiva has a garland of dead people's heads, and he has the ashes of dead people on his body. So his brother, Brigamuni, did not want to touch him or hug him. With uncontrollable rage, he, meaning Shiva, took to his trident and prepared to kill Brigamuni. At that time, Shiva's wife, Parvati, was present. Her personality, like Shiva's, is a mixture of the three qualities, meaning goodness, passion, and ignorance, and therefore she is called Trigunamayi. In this case, she saved the situation by evoking Lord Shiva's quality of goodness. She fell down at the feet of her husband, and with her sweet words, she talked him out of killing Brigamuni. After having been saved from the anger of Lord Shiva, Brigamuni went directly to the planet Svetadvipa, where Lord Vishnu was lying on a bed of flowers in the company of his wife, the goddess of fortune, who was engaged in massaging his lotus feet. There, Brigamuni purposely committed the greatest sin by offending Lord Vishnu by his bodily activities. In other words, he jumped up on the chest of Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, and that is like the worst. That's a physical, what you would call a physical harm that he gave to the Lord, and so that was the worst type of aparad. There, Brigamuni purposely committed the greatest sin by offending Lord Vishnu by his bodily activities. The first offense committed by Brigamuni was mental. The second offense was vocal, and the third offense was corporal, meaning physical. These different offenses are progressively greater in degree. An offense committed within the mind is a positive offense. The same offense committed verbally is comparatively more grave, and when committed by bodily action, it is superlative in offensiveness. So Brigham Muni committed the greatest offense by kicking the chest of Lord Vishnu and putting his feet on the presence, putting his feet in the presence of the goddess of fortune on the chest of Lord Vishnu. Of course, Lord Vishnu is all merciful. He did not become angry at the activities of Brigham Muni, for Brigham Muni was a great Brahmana. A Brahmana is to be excused even if he commits an offense. And Lord Vishnu set the example. Yet it is said that from the time of this incident, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, has not been very favorably disposed toward the Brahmanas, and therefore, because the goddess of fortune withholds her benedictions from them, the Brahmanas are generally very poor. Brigham Muni's kicking the chest of Lord Vishnu with his foot was certainly a great offense, but Lord Vishnu is so great that he did not care. The so-called Brahmanas of the Kali Yuga are sometimes very proud that a great Brahmana like Brigham Muni could touch the chest of Lord Vishnu with his foot. But in fact, when Brigham Muni kicked the chest of Lord Vishnu with his foot, it was the greatest offense, although Lord Vishnu, being greatly magnanimous, did not take it very seriously. Instead of being angry or cursing Brigham Muni, Lord Vishnu immediately got up from his bed, along with his wife, the goddess of fortune, and offered respectful obeisances to the Brahmana. He addressed Brigham Muni as follows: "My dear Brahmana, it is my greatest fortune that you have come here. Please, therefore, sit down on this cushion for a few minutes. My dear Brahmana, I am very sorry that when you first entered my home, I could not receive you properly. It was a great offense on my part, and I beg you to pardon me. You are so pure and great that the water which washes your feet can purify even the places of pilgrimage. Therefore, I request you to purify the Vaikuntha planet where I live with my associates. My dear father, O great sage, I know that your feet are very soft like a lotus flower, and that my chest is as hard as a thunderbolt. I am therefore afraid that you may have felt some pain by kicking my chest with your feet. Let me touch your feet to relieve the pain you have suffered." Lord Vishnu then began to massage the feet of Brigham Muni. Wow, this is amazing. Such humility. The Lord continued to address Brigham Muni. "My dear Lord," he said, "my chest has now become sanctified." So this is the Lord speaking to Brigham Muni. "My chest has now become sanctified because of the touch of your feet. And I am now assured that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, will be very glad to live there perpetually." Another name for Lakshmi is Chanchala, indicating that she does not stay in one place for a long time. Therefore, we see that a rich man's family sometimes becomes poor after a few generations, and sometimes we see that a poor man's family becomes very rich. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is Chanchala in this material world, whereas in the Vaikuntha planets, she eternally lives at the lotus feet of the Lord, because Lakshmi is famous. Lakshmi is famous as Chanchala. Lord Narayana indicated that she might not have been living perpetually by his chest, but because his chest had been touched by the feet of Brigamuni, it was now sanctified, and there was no chance that the goddess of fortune would leave. Brigamuni, however, could understand his position and that of the Lord, and he was struck with wonder at the behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of his gratitude, his voice choked up, and he was unable to reply to the words of the Lord. Tears glided from his eyes, and he could not say anything. He simply stood silently before the Lord. After testing Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu, Brigamuni returned to the assembly of great sages on the bank of the river Saraswati and described his experience. After hearing him with great attention, the sages concluded that of all the predominating deities, Lord Vishnu is certainly the greatest. In Srimad Bhagavatam, these great sages are described as Brahma Vadinam. Brahma Vadinam means those who talk about the absolute truth but have not yet come to a conclusion. Generally, Brahmavadi refers to the impersonalists or to those who are students of the Vedas. It is to be understood, therefore, that all the gathered sages were serious students of the Vedic literature but had not come to definite conclusions as to who is the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead. But after hearing of Brigamuni's experience in meeting all three predominating deities, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Vishnu, the sages concluded that Lord Vishnu is the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that after hearing the details about Brigamuni, the sages were astonished because although Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were immediately agitated, Lord Vishnu, in spite of being kicked by Brigamuni, was not agitated in the least. The example is given that small lamps may be agitated by a slight breeze, but the greatest lamp or the greatest illuminating source, the sun, is never moved, even by the greatest hurricane. One's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. That is a major statement. Let me read that again. One's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. The sages gathered on, well, we see when Brigamuni jumped on the chest of Lord Vishnu did not become angry. In fact, he said, he apologized to Brigamuni, saying that my chest is very hard, and your lotus feet are so tender. I want to apologize if I hurt you when you jumped on my chest. Say, the sages gathered on the bank of the river Saraswati. The sages gathered on the bank of the river Saraswati concluded that if one wants actual peace and freedom from all fear, he should take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Since Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva lost their peaceful attitude upon a slight provocation, how can they maintain the peace and tranquility of their devotees? As for Lord Vishnu, however, it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who accepts Lord Vishnu or Krishna as the supreme friend attains the highest perfection of peaceful life. The sages thus concluded that by following the principles of Vaishnava Dharma, one becomes actually perfect, but that if one follows all the religious principles of a particular sect and does not become advanced in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, all such labor of love is fruitless. To execute religious principles means to come to the platform of perfect knowledge. If one comes to the platform of perfect knowledge, then he will be uninterested in material affairs. Perfect knowledge means knowledge of one's own self and the Supreme Self, meaning Krishna. The Supreme Self and the individual self, although one in quality, are different in quantity. This analytical understanding of knowledge is perfect. Simply to understand I am not matter, I am spirit, is not perfect knowledge. The real religious principle is devotional service, or bhakti. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna says, "Give up all other religious principles and simply surrender unto me." Therefore, the term dharma applies only to Vaishnava dharma, or Bhagavad dharma, following which all other good qualities and advancements in life are automatically achieved. The highest perfectional knowledge is knowledge of the Supreme Lord. He cannot be understood by any process of religion other than devotional service. Therefore, the immediate result of perfect knowledge is achieved by executing devotional service. After the attainment of knowledge, one becomes uninterested in the material world. This is not because of dry philosophical speculation. The devotees become uninterested in the material world not simply because of theoretical understanding, but because of practical experience. When a devotee realizes the effect of association with the Supreme Lord, he naturally hates the association of so-called society, friendship, and love. This detachment is not dry, but is due to achieving a higher status of life by relishing transcendental mellows. It is further stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that after attainment of such knowledge and such detachment from material sense gratification, one's advancement in the 8 opulences attained through mystic yoga practice, such as anima, lagima, and prapti siddhis, is also achieved without separate effort. The perfect example is Maharaja Ambarisha. He was not a mystic yogi, but a great devotee. Yet, in a disagreement with Maharaj Ambarisha, the great mystic Durvasa was defeated in the presence of the king's devotional attitude. In other words, a devotee does not need to practice the mystic yoga system to achieve power. The power is behind him by the grace of the Lord, just as when a small child is surrendered to a powerful father, all the powers of the father are behind him. When a person becomes famous as a devotee of the Lord, his reputation is never to be extinguished. Lord Chaitanya, when discoursing with Ramananda Rai, questioned, "What is the greatest fame?" Ramananda Rai replied that to be known as a pure devotee of Lord Krishna is the perfect fame. The conclusion, therefore, is that Vishnu Dharma, or the religion of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is meant for persons who are thoughtful. By proper utilization of thoughtfulness, one comes to the stage of thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from the contamination of the faulty association of the material world, and thus one becomes peaceful. The world is in a disturbed condition because of a scarcity of such peaceful devotees in human society. Unless one is a devotee, one cannot be equal to all living entities. A devotee is equally disposed toward the animals, the human beings, and all living entities because he sees every living entity as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. In the Ishopanishad, it is clearly stated that one who has come to the stage of seeing all living entities equally does not hate anyone or favor anyone. The devotee does not hanker to possess more than he requires. Devotees are therefore akinchana. In any condition of life, a devotee is satisfied. That's what akinchana means. It is said that a devotee is even-minded, whether he is in hell or in heaven. A devotee is callous to all subjects other than his engagement in devotional service. The mode of life is the highest, this mode of life is the highest perfectional stage from which one can be elevated to the spiritual world, back home, back to Godhead. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are especially attracted by the highest material quality, goodness, and the qualified Brahmana is the symbolic representation of this goodness. Therefore, a devotee is attached to the Brahminical stage of life. He is not very interested in passion or ignorance, although those qualities also emanate from the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the devotees are described as Nipuna Buddhaya, which means that they are the most intelligent class of men, uninfluenced by attachment or hatred. The devotee lives very peacefully and is not agitated by the influence of passion and ignorance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So you see how exalted a genuine devotee of Krishna is. And it is by experience we see that genuine devotees do not get disturbed by situations in life. They continue their steady devotional service without being, let's say, sidetracked by different types of situations. So, if there's war, the devotee still continues to chant Hare Krishna and follow principles of Krishna consciousness. If there is happiness, the devotee still continues chanting and dancing and so forth. When there's misery, the devotee still chants, dances, and engages in devotional service. In other words, the devotee is steady and dedicated to following the principles of Krishna consciousness. By following the principles of Krishna consciousness, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, one should also then maintain chanting Hare Krishna, eating only prasadam, associating with genuine devotees, and going out on Sankirtan. Then the devotee's life is very peaceful and happy, and they actually help other people become Krishna conscious also. They are not prejudicial towards anyone, understanding that everyone originally came from Krishna, so everyone has the right to go back to the spiritual world with Krishna. It's just a question of having the knowledge and the practice of Krishna consciousness. So, when Srila Prabhupada came to America, there were no devotees. They were all a bunch of hippies and crazy people, right? But he didn't say, well, I'm going back to India, these people are worthless. No, he didn't say that. He saw the potential everyone have if they get the right association and if they get the right instruction from a bona fide spiritual master. So Prabhupada, as a bona fide spiritual master, began to transform hippies into happies. the hippie movement was very, very powerful at that time, but Srila Prabhupada was able to liberate many, many young men and women from the nonsense of the hippie movement and make them into genuine devotees. Only a pure devotee has the power to do that. Therefore, we should never be confused about what is the real purpose of life. The real purpose of life is to become Krishna conscious right up to the moment of death and remember Krishna at the moment of death and go back to the spiritual world. Not to rot birth after birth in the material world. And there's no guarantee what body you'll have in your next life. Okay, so I read a bunch of good things here. Does anyone have a question to ask about what you heard? Or any other question? Any question or comment? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There should be one question. Yes, Prabhu.
The statement that a devotee is steady in all situations,
Yeah.
it's a continuous practice until one leaves the body.
Yes.
But still situations sometimes trouble a lot, and then surrounding environment is poison, then how do you deal with it?
You deal with it by taking shelter at the lotus feet of a genuine devotee.
Which anyway we are doing all those things, keeping quiet, not doing anything. But still these things happen.
No, but I say you take shelter at the lotus feet of a pure devotee.
Then the association is good, so they're all pure beings. Before, not everybody is going to be perfect. We have spiritual masters, Diksha Gurus, Diksha Gurus. Everybody follows it, but still we exhibit this lower tendency.
Still what?
Still exhibit the lower tendencies.
Well, that means that you're not genuinely surrendered to a genuine devotee. If you're genuinely surrendered to a genuine devotee, you will not be confused, you will not be, let's say, frustrated, because you have good association all the time. Everything depends on who you associate with. So if you associate with a genuine devotee or genuine devotees all the time, you will not be misled, you will not be frustrated, you will not be confused. And there were genuine devotees will always have classes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon also, and definitely in the evening. So you get a chance to hear the genuine devotees giving classes and discussing all kinds of pertinent issues about how to go back to Godhead and how to please Krishna.
That's what helps us to keep steady, but still things are happening around you. That's what I'm commenting.
Things are going to happen all the time. Even when Krishna was present, things were happening. Yeah, but we don't care. But we don't care for that. We know that Krishna will protect us in all situations.
That is a belief we all have strongly and then continue. That's what continuing is.
Yeah.
Still, you get not confused. You get sad when these things happen. Why these things happen? Everybody is trying to do this.
But we know why these things happen. People forget God or Krishna. So your purpose should be to help people remember God and know God or Krishna and get them engaged in Krishna consciousness. Look, oftentimes people see what's wrong, but they don't understand how to correct it. But a devotee knows what is wrong, he also knows what is right, and he practices what is right to help people give up being wrong. But you have to be very, very merciful to do that. You can't be, oh, well, these people are nonsense, they'll never learn anything. No. Prabhupada said to make one devotee, you have to spend uh, uh, many gallons of blood just to make one devotee. So look at Prabhupada. He made thousands of devotees. Imagine how much blood he had to spend to do that.
That's the point everybody should remember and be respectful to each other.
Okay, you answered the question. Haribol. Any other questions? Any other questions? Young lady, any other questions? There's nobody behind you. Unless there's a ghost or something. But you're the young lady, so do you have any question? Yes. Who's that? Which Prabhuji? Which Prabhuji? Okay, go ahead.
When you said you can estimate one's, greatness by how he tolerates difficult situations.
Yeah, that's a very, very important statement. Unless a devotee, unless one is a devotee, one cannot be equal in all. One cannot be equal to all living entities. A devotee is equally disposed toward the animals, the human beings, and all living entities because he sees every living entity as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Is that what you're talking about?
No, man, the statement that Prabhupada had said that one's greatness.
Okay, one's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. Okay? So that's your question, right? About that verse? That sentence?
Navrakesha Prabhu.
Yes. My question is, how do we know when to tolerate and when not to tolerate?
There's all kinds.
Well, if someone offends the deities or Krishna or devotees, then you don't tolerate that. Otherwise, you're a nonsense person. But in general, well, let's say someone does offend Krishna or Krishna's devotee. There are three things you can do. One, you kill that person. But that's not so good to do in the modern situation. Two, you try and convince that person to understand that that's a very bad thing that they're doing and they should give up doing it. And number three, if you can't do one or two, then number three is you walk away and don't associate with that person. Does that answer your question? Hare Krishna. Okay, yes. Oh, now you have a question. Good. Yeah? Well, you wouldn't know it until you heard the Pandavas blowing their conch shell. When they blew their conch shell, then the conch shell of Bhisma was not at all equal. Yeah. Yeah, there's different levels of blowing a conch shell, right? So, although Bhisma is a pure devotee, but when the Pandavas blew on the conch shell, then let's say It went beyond. Huh?
Shattered the heart circle.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Good question. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Okay, so our takeaway for today, that's poetry, right? A takeaway for today. One's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. That's very high level, what you would say, high level strategy. One's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. Whether you're working in a company, and there are provoking situations always in companies, or whether you're working with your relatives, there's always provoking situations with the relatives, or you're working, or you have friends or enemies. There's always provoking situations. So therefore, one's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. We can add to that in all provoking situations. So in all situations. So therefore, when we develop that equanimity, not being disturbed by anything, and able to tolerate even the worst situations by always chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and having complete faith in Krishna, even in the most worst situations, not losing your faith. Neophyte people, neophyte devotees, let's say, when things go wrong, well, when things are going right, there's no problem for them. Right? But when things go wrong, they get confused and they leave. So that's the test of who is actually a devotee and who is not a devotee. A real devotee, even in the worst situations, does not go away. Knowing very well that his faith in Krishna is absolute. It's not dependent on anything. It's completely firm. He's completely firm in his dedication to serving Krishna in any situation. That's a real devotee. So, how to come to that position is regular hearing lectures given by genuine devotees, and regular reading of the Shastras that you may do, and regular hearing, regularly asking questions. That's very important, asking questions. Because sometimes you might hear something and don't understand clearly what you heard, or you want to clarify something, so you ask a question. Asking questions is very important. The whole Bhagavad Gita is questions and answers. Arjuna has so many questions, and Krishna has the answers to all his questions. So most scriptures, holy scriptures, are questions and answers. Just like Jesus, so many questions were asked to Jesus, and he gave the answers. So in the same way, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is asking Krishna so many questions, and Krishna is answering them. So we should always have questions, and therefore we'll get the answers, and we get educated. When you ask a question and hear the answer, it might be so powerful that you'll never forget it, the answer. You'll never forget the answer. Because you were curious to know something, and you went to the point of asking a question, and then you hear the question, and it illuminates you. and then you'll never forget the rest of your life. But if you don't ask any questions, well, you don't get any answers, and you don't get any illumination either. You stay in the darkness. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, no other questions. Our takeaway for today. I already read one, but I'll read another one. The sages thus concluded that by following the principles of Vaishnava Dharma, one becomes actually perfect, but that if one follows all the religious principles of a particular sect and does not become advanced in understanding the Supreme Personality Godhead, Vishnu, all such labor of love is fruitless. In other words, you may be involved in some kind of spiritual movement, but if you don't come to this conclusion that you should engage every day, every minute in the service of Krishna without any hiatus, without any stoppage, and with that strong determination to chant and dance and chant your rounds every day and eat only prasadam and follow all the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, then you become a pure devotee, and nothing can make you change your mind from being always engaged in Krishna consciousness. That means you have attained real education in by coming to the temple and associating with devotees. If, however, you come every once in a while to the temple, you hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it doesn't really interest you, then you're just wasting your time. And you will become always confused in the material world, birth after birth. So, the one thing we learn in class is how to hear. That's what we are actually learning, how to hear with enthusiasm and reverent hearing. In other words, feeling very, very humbled by the fact that you're hearing pure devotional service given by genuine devotees, and obviously the genuine devotees are simply repeating what Srila Prabhupada has said. That's a genuine devotee. So that's the way you know if someone is genuine, if they're only repeating what Srila Prabhupada has said, because Prabhupada was and is a pure devotee. And we have so many books. I mean, the book I'm reading now is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, right? So that's what we should do. We should only hear knowledge that's given by a pure devotee. And the one pure devotee that I know is Srila Prabhupada. So I don't have to look for other pure devotees, you know. So if we just follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions and his purports and his books and his teachings, we will go back to Godhead, guaranteed. Haribol. All right, well, we'll stop right there so that everyone can go to sleep early to be able to wake up early and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If you want to be a devotee, you have to chant minimum 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra every day. And 16 is the minimum. There's no maximum. You can chant all day long. In fact, what was his name? Huh? Haridas Thakur. He chanted 24 hours a day, and he was a Muslim. He was born in a Muslim family. and he surrendered to Lord Chaitanya, and he became the epitome of a pure devotee, chanting 24 hours a day. Actually, he was chanting 23 and a half hours a day, and half an hour he would maybe eat something, maybe take a quick bath. That's all. And then he would continue again chanting 23 and a half hours a day. And he was a Muslim. Just imagine. The pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy.